Hello and welcome to our channel. This is the show where we like to give you our rating first and then talk about the things we did and did not like about the movie you just saw. Today's movie is Ford versus Ferrari. We saw it. Did you guys see it? If you did see it, what did you think? Because we're letting you know in 3, 2, 1.
See it.
High five. Yes. Glad you liked it as much as I did. This movie was fantastic. Straight crowd pleaser. I mean, that's basically what you'll be hearing about this film. It is a crowd pleaser. It is just a very, very good time. And for a movie about guys racing cars, I think this is about as good of a film as you could have hoped for. Just hitting, it's like it's hitting its target audience, and it hits that audience perfectly. Okay, so, Sam, Ford versus Ferrari. We saw it. What were the things that you liked about this movie?
I thought it was funny and heartfelt, and it was a lot better than what I thought it was. There was a story there, and it was an interesting story, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to enjoy it, but at the end of the movie, I think it was one of the movies that I really enjoyed the most of the year.
Yeah, and for a movie that's 2.5 hours long, it did not feel 2.5 hours long.
Really? I didn't even know it was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, it's a little long. It's on the longer end, but it doesn't feel like that.
No, not at all. Like every second of the way, it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. It's a very enjoyable film.
It's a movie that you don't have to be a gearhead to be able to enjoy this film.
No.
There is a heart to the center of this movie. The bromance between Matt Damon and Christian Bale is really the core of the film. And Matt Damon. You
don't know who the other guy is? He's behind you.
It was taking me a second. I drew a blank there. But their relationship is the driving force of the film. And I like that the film isn't really just about Ford versus Ferrari. It's really about Ford versus Ford. It's the Ford racing team going up against and butting heads with the Ford executives for the full duration of this film. Mm-hmm. The executives have this image that they want to pump out of Ford, and the people that are running the racing team aren't exactly 100% fitting the image that Ford wants to put out. So there's a lot of moments that creates friction in the film where they want certain people gone, and Matt Damon and his team are like, no, these people are integral to us winning and doing what we want to do. And you believe so much in their friendship that you root for the racing team so much in the film.
I have to say Christian Bale's character in this was very compelling. I mean, this is different from anything I think I've seen him in. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was so raw in this, and he was a person that you can connect with, and even though he had a temper, he was still one that you wanted to root for, and you knew deep down he was a good guy. Yeah.
Ken Miles is a great character. There's not really much known about the real Ken Miles as far as like being able to like study footage and stuff like that. So whereas with Carroll Shelby, who's a Matt Damon, like there's plenty of stuff that you could base Carroll Shelby on. You could really hone in on him. But Ken Miles really had to be through Christian Bale's own sort of like imagination of imagining what this kind of, through the stories that you hear of Ken Miles, like how was this person, how did he conduct himself as a race car driver?
Yeah, I mean, but as a race car driver, I mean, not that I know anything about racing cars, I think he was a fine fit for race car driving. I mean, he had the drive for it, literally. Mm-hmm. And he was able to, build his way up and become a NASCAR driver the way that, where he started and where he ended. And it was just an interesting story to watch, whether it was all true or not. I mean, it is a movie. It was embellished, but
yeah, we'll get into
it was still fun.
The embellishment, the things that they embellished and the things that I didn't like. We'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they're going to embellish on it. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Whether Ken Miles was a good guy or not, who knows? I'm sure he was.
Some of the best race car driving scenes you'll ever see. I actually think it's probably the best race car driving scenes you'll ever see. The Daytona scene, and actually being able to having back-to-back 24-hour race scenes play in the third act of the film and have them both be genuinely exciting is a feat amongst itself.
I was actually quite engaged when they were on the last racing sequence, and I would probably find that boring, and I couldn't go and watch a race car. It's just not my thing, but a NASCAR race. But I thought that that moment was the most exciting part of the whole movie, and I was really into it. I was really digging it.
Yeah, so they did a great job with all of that. Now, moving on to the things that I didn't like about this film, or the things that we didn't like about this film. So I don't know if there's anything about this movie that stood out to you, but first things is that I felt like the film was a little hard to get into in the beginning because it starts off a little silly. There are some silly elements in the first half of this film.
Yeah, but that really like portrayed who Ken Miles was. I mean, like Ken Miles wasn't, a well-tempered man.
It's not even just with the Ken Miles stuff. It's like the way they introduce the executives in the film. It's kind of like the campy like music that they put behind some of the introductory scenes for the executives. They make them sort of like cartoon-like type characters. But once we actually have the team assembled and they're trying to build what became known as the Ford GT, that race against Ferrari, like it just took off from there. But getting to there was a little bit of a struggle for me. And the other aspect that kind of disappoints me a little bit is the fact that the film is highly infactual. There's a lot of stuff that is straight up just make up to play up the drama between the Ford executives and the racing team. But in real life, there wasn't really that drama there. For instance, there's a scene where Ken Miles...
It's a movie.
It is a movie, but when it's portrayed as like the true story, there's a scene where Ken Miles doesn't go to race Le Mans in the earlier sequence of them building the GT, but in real life, he went and raced Le Mans. He did not stay home. He was their driver that went.
So he did the Le Mans twice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So in the movie, they played off like the executives don't like him, and he's not a good face for Ford. But in real life, he went. That never happened. He went and he raced for Ford at Le Mans in '65. The other thing is that they embellish or not just embellish, but they fabricate the way that the film ends. That BB wasn't the executive who was like conniving and he was out to get Ken Miles. He just wanted a good photograph and.
No, I believe that probably was the case, that he wanted a good photograph, and I don't think he was necessarily out for Ken Miles, but it sure appeared to be that way.
But that's what they did in the movie. They made it look that way. Wow. But in real life, it wasn't really like that. But they play it up for the drama. I get why they played it up for the drama, but when you actually read about the true story, like, it actually sounded like Ford actually liked Ken Miles. So it's kind of disappointing when you go and watch this film and it looks like Ford hates Ken Miles.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like the true story. So it would be a little disappointing, like taking myself out of just the viewership shoes and going to put myself in the shoes of someone that was actually involved with this crew to watch this movie now. I would be disappointed if they were depicting...
Well, they did make Ford look really bad. Ford did not look very good in this.
I don't know anything about Henry Ford II.
I'm not even talking about Henry Ford. I'm talking about the whole Ford team.
Oh.
Besides even like the team that was working on the car, like it felt more like a movie about the team that's working for the car and then the corporate world of Ford. So like it looked like it was a battle between the two of those more than Ford and Ferrari. Like I get it's like their end goal was the same, but like the way that they were trying to get there, Ford corporate way, and then Ford all of the mechanics that were working with the Ford, they just had a different direction, and they just seemed like they were butting heads. So it felt like the movie was more about what was going on in the Ford world than it was about Ford and Ferrari. Ferrari was just who they wanted to beat. Yeah. It was the end goal was just to beat Ferrari. That's why it's Ford versus Ferrari.
And that's pretty much it for me. Outside of the historical inaccuracies, the film is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, that changes when you make a movie, but I thought it was great overall.
All right. That is it for us. I believe Knives Out is next week. I think we see that.
Hopefully I will be better by then.
Yeah, Sam's a little under the weather, so we filmed this a little late while Sam's recovering. So hopefully you like this review. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more, because we have more coming. Knives Out next week. November 22nd is our screening. I believe that's next week. Yeah, should be next. Okay, so Knives Out next week. We'll see you then.
I thought it was November 26th. I thought it was Thanksgiving Day.
No, we're seeing it early. The movie comes out Thanksgiving Day. We're seeing it a week early.
Oh, look at us go. Okay, cool.
See you next weekend, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.